Hi, Math 8. We've spent a lot of time over the past couple weeks solving systems of equations using graphing, substitution, and elimination. We haven't had a lot of practice yet actually setting up and writing the equations and then solving them from word problems and riddles. So our learning target for today is I will be able to define variables, write equations, choose the best method for solving a system of linear equations, and solve the system to answer a specific question. So I've tried to condense this into 6 steps, and I'll read those steps now, and then we will go through some examples following these steps together. Step 1 would be to define your variables. Determine what you're trying to figure out. Step 2, write your equations. 3, determine the most efficient method for solving your system of equations. Graphing, substitution, or elimination. 4, using the method of your choice, solve the system to find the solution or point or answer to the riddle or question. Step 5, check your solution using your original equations. And then lastly, go back to your original question and make sure you are answering that specific question or riddle with units or a clear description. So we're going to go through 4 examples together in which we will go through each of these steps. Please make sure that you are either taking notes on the page provided for you, the PDF document that you have printed, or taking notes in your spiral notebook or on a piece of paper. Word problem 1 says, Jack and Jill both ordered pizzas from Wayne's Pizza for their parties. Jack paid $58.50 for 3 pepperoni pizzas and 2 plain pizzas. Jill paid $67 for 2 pepperoni pizzas and 4 plain pizzas. How much does Wayne's Pizza charge for a plain pizza and for a pepperoni pizza? So I always try to go back and read the question again before I start. We're trying to figure out how much they charge. So we are trying to solve for the price of a plain pizza and the price of a pepperoni pizza. So let's start by defining our variables. So I'm going to go ahead and just say that Y will stand for the price of each plain pizza. Really, you can pick any variable that you want. I'm just picking X and Y for simplicity's sake here. So then I'm going to say X stands for the price of each pepperoni pizza. So now we need to come up with our equations. What do we know here? Well, we know that there are 2 people that bought the pizzas. Jack bought pizzas, and we know the amount that Jack paid, and we know exactly how many pizzas Jack bought. And we also know the amount that Jill paid, the total amount she paid, and how many pizzas Jill bought. So this scenario kind of lends itself towards writing 2 equations in standard form. Let's start by writing an equation for Jack's purchases. So Jack spent $58.50 total, and he bought 3 pepperoni pizzas. So I'm going to write a 3, and then I'm going to multiply it by X, because X is the price per pizza. So 3X plus Jack also bought 2 plain pizzas, and we have Y standing for the price of plain pizzas, so that's why I'm multiplying the 2 times Y. Jack's total is $58.50. So now we have an equation for Jack. We also need to write an equation for Jill. Jill bought 2 pepperoni pizzas, and we have X standing for the price of pepperoni, so I'm going to say 2X plus Jill also bought 4 plain pizzas, so that would be 4 times Y, and she spent a total of $67. All right, we've written our equations, we've defined our variables. The next step would be to determine the most efficient method and solve the system. To be completely honest with you, there is no wrong method. You could use graphing, you could use substitution, and you could also use elimination. You have to pick the method that makes the most sense to you and the method that works best for this particular scenario. So when I look at my two equations, I see right away that they are both written in standard form. Neither one of them is written y equals or x equals. So typically when I have these equations written in standard form, in my opinion, the easiest way to solve this would be with elimination. And elimination is where I'm going to combine those equations. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite them right now. And when you're looking at the equations, if I were to add them right now, nothing would cancel out. The x's would not cancel out and the y's would not cancel out. So I need to multiply one or more of these equations by a value that will help me. So I'm looking at probably the easiest way in my mind would be to multiply this entire first equation by -2. And the reason I chose the -2 is because I know that that's going to make my y -4y, and if I combine it with this other equation, the y's will cancel out or be eliminated, and then I'll be able to solve for x. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply this entire top equation by -2, and I'm going to write it below this other one. So -2 times 3x is -6x, and -2 times +2y would be -4y or -4y. And then if I do -2 times 5850, I'm using my calculator for this, and you can too, I get -100, oops, something's wrong here, that doesn't make sense. I get -117. So now that I have multiplied that first equation by -2, I can combine my two equations and solve for x. So when I add +4y and -4y, they are eliminated or canceled out. When I add 2x and -6x, I get -4x. Got a little bit of a lagging pen here. When I combine the 67 and the -117, I get, so I'm going to do 67 minus 117 or plus -117. I get a -50. So now I'm left with a one-step equation, -4x equals -50. In order to isolate the x, I'm going to divide both sides by -4, and I'm left with x equals $12.50. Remember, we're talking about prices of pizzas. So if I look back at the original statement where I defined my variables, I can see that the x stands for the price of each pepperoni pizza. So that would mean that each pepperoni is $12.50. All right, so now that I know my x, or one of my variables, I'm going to now plug it back into another equation, either one of my original equations. It doesn't matter which one. I'm going to go ahead and use that first one. And now I'm going to solve the equation for y so I can figure out the price of each plain pizza. All right, so 3 times $12.50 is $37.50, plus 2y is equal to $58.50. So in this step, I'm going to subtract both sides by $37.50. $58.50 minus $37.50 is 21. I'm running out of space here. I've got to write smaller. Sorry about that. So then I get 2y equals 21. I'm going to divide both sides by 2, and I get y equals $10.50. All right, so I think that the price of each pepperoni pizza is $12.50 and the price of each plain pizza is $10.50, but I need to check my work, so I'm going to change pen colors here because the white is not going to show up very well. And I'm going to make it a little smaller so that I have more space. Okay, so since I used that first equation to help me solve y, I'm going to use the second equation now to check my work. So 2 times x, which is 2 times $12.50, plus 4 times y, or 4 times $10.50, should be equal to $67. So now I've got to check it. 2 times $12.50 is $25. 4 times $10.50 would be $42. 25 plus 42 is 67. And 67 equals 67. So that means I am correct. So my very last step would be to go back to your original question and make sure you're answering it with units. Our original question was, how much does Wayne's Pizza charge for a plain pizza? That's $10.50. And how much does Wayne's Pizza charge for a pepperoni pizza? That was X in our original scenario. So each pepperoni pizza is $12.50. Again, you don't have to use elimination. That was just the method that I chose because I felt like that would be the most efficient in this scenario.